Thank you so much for joining us. I am very glad to.
So Shadowlands is an incredible time for Blizzard Entertainment. It's an incredible time for the story of World of Warcraft in general. Blizzard seems to be doing something very interesting and also a little bit daring with the story of the Shadowlands, with the story of World of Warcraft in general. So we've kind of run out of bad guys. If you consider the bad guys of World of Warcraft, we've sort of run out of them, right? We had all of the old gods for a long time, and we slowly but surely, throughout the expansions, killed off all of them. Then we always had this big bad guy, which was Sargeras, and we sort of dealt with him, right? We sort of dealt with him, but he's also being parked. He's going to come back at some point, right? We all know that. But as for actual mortal enemies, they seem to be running out. They seem to be in short supply these days. Now, there's still a couple of them left that we may have to think about, right? So we're thinking of characters like Uriel, an alternative Dreno. That still is a thing that should at some point resurface. We of course still don't quite know what happened to Archimond or Kil'jaeden. They might be dead, they might not. We've spoken about this before on the channel, where I gave you examples of where they might not be dead. They may not have died within the Twisting Nether, and therefore they could still at some point come back, right? Although they might not. So there's a very short supply of enemies. So it seems Blizzard is doing something rather crazy in Shadowlands with a new sort of a new roster of champions for us to follow and champions for us to loathe and hate. So Blizzard seems to be reorganizing themselves along this. Now, there's a couple of dangers in this, and I would love to get your feedback on this. I would love to know what you guys think of this, but there is definitely a couple of dangers in what Blizzard is doing now. If they act too quickly, so we're thinking of characters like Lillian Voss, right? You've got Lillian Voss. You've got Kalia Menethil. You've got Talia, right? Or Talia. For Dragon, whichever one of those fucking names is the right way to pronounce that. But you've got these characters, right? That doesn't matter. If Blizzard put together a story right now of any of these three characters, I would be not even mildly disinterested. I would be very much disinterested, right? With the entire fucking story. Just because I feel no real connection with these characters. So Blizzard needs to be very careful. But it does appear as if Blizzard is slowly but surely starting to filter these characters into the main story so that they could become characters that we're going to follow later on down the road, right? There is a couple of universes in the world, right? A couple of giant universes in the world that people pay millions of dollars in order to get licensing fees in order to make games that exist within this universe. Now, before a few years ago, if we go back, I believe it was like 6 years ago, the lore department for World of Warcraft was maybe 2 people and a dog, right? We're kind of chilling out. It was basically just Chris Metzen writing a bunch of stories, right? And every 2 years they would contact a novelist and say, hey, write a fucking book, right? And that was it. That was the lore of World of Warcraft. Nothing really to it. But since then, the lore department for World of Warcraft has grown by leaps and bounds to the point where it is now pretty much a business in and of it fucking self, right? It is almost an entire department worthy of mention, right? Yeah, they even have historians to keep the story going. I believe that Blizzard is building a story, right, that they can sell the rights to. If you think about this, right, think about it in terms of D&D, but more importantly, you could think of it as Warhammer. Blizzard is introducing gods, right? They're introducing first ones, they're introducing clockmakers, they're introducing life and death realms. They're introducing these massive overarching stories, right? That creates almost an infinite amount of stories that can be told depending on who wants to tell the next story, right? I want to put this to you. Imagine if in 5 or 6 years from now, you have outside companies. You have companies like CD Projekt Red or like BioWare, even though EA should first sell BioWare. But imagine some of our favorite Larian Studios, for example. Imagine if those companies started to make spin-off RPG games, RTS games, all set within this universe. So these are different companies that simply paying for the rights to use this, because it seems that that's the route that Blizzard is going in. The amount of money and effort that Blizzard is spending on the lore of World of Warcraft, guys, it's no coincidence that for the first time ever, Blizzard seems to be hyper-focused on the story. If you think just in terms of business, Bobby Kotick is a cunt, but he loves money, right? And I can tell you now that once you start selling licenses to make games in your world with your rule sets, just making your own game can't challenge that. There's too much money being spent on licensing fees. You'll make triple, if not 5 times the amount that you could make making your own games. It might be that Bobby Kotick decided, look, there's clearly no fucking way that World of Warcraft is going to start pushing out an expansion every single year. So we need to figure out how to get other companies to push out games in our fucking game or in our world so that we can make the money that we can't make from World of Warcraft. I think it would be a very interesting development. I think it would work amazingly well because I have told you guys this before. In terms of the lore of World of Warcraft, I genuinely can't imagine a world I would more love to play a single player RPG in. And guys, I'm a huge fan of RPG games, right? My favorite games isn't even World of Warcraft. It's RPG games. It's games like Witcher 3. It's games like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Neverwinter Night. These are the games that I most of the time prefer to play, and World of Warcraft is sort of a filler game for me. But if you told me that, oh, by the way, there's a brand new RPG coming out and it's set on Azeroth, that's my life, bro. That's my fucking life gone. For the next month, that's all I'm fucking playing. That's all I'm playing. CD Projekt Red picks up a fucking game, makes it like Witcher 3, and you're playing on Azeroth, fighting N'Zoth and all those in the same kind of fucking world as Witcher 3 with the same kind of combat and the same kind of storytelling. Can you fucking imagine what that would be like, right? Can you imagine how cool that would be? Let me ask you this. Do you think World of Warcraft can survive, right, if they spent less time on the story? Actually, I think they could. I think if you look at the people who play World of Warcraft for lore, I think that's a very small minority. I mean, play it exclusively for the lore. So I'm talking about people like myself, right? Who play only for the lore. I have no interest in the rest of World of Warcraft because I don't raid but I play for the lore. I love the lore of the game. I love the story of the game, right? I think it could survive. I don't think they need to spend this much money on lore and on cinematics and on story as they are doing, right? Because I don't think it would hurt the game if they stop doing it. Lore legitimately, I don't think is the main reason people play World of Warcraft. But if your idea, if your end goal is to start selling your world to other gaming companies, then you're on the right fucking track. Yes, it's an initial investment, but that investment will start paying off tenfold when you get to that point. Now, they still have a long time to go, right? If you look at the story of Warhammer, for example, it takes... it's so much bigger than World of Warcraft. It's so much bigger than World of Warcraft, but it's still... it's still... I think WoW is getting there, if you will. Once you do start selling the rights to the licensing to your game, oh my god, the millions and millions and millions of dollars that you'll be making off of your game is insane. And if I have to choose any world that I want to play a video game in, I would choose World of Warcraft. I would choose the Azeroth universe. That would be the world that I want to play games in. Lower spice of the game, not the meat and potatoes. It's fun to discuss ideas, even if I have a different opinion. I don't have a problem with anyone having a different opinion. And I don't have a problem with anyone saying I'm wrong. Of course, if you're going to tell me that I'm wrong and then tell me I said something that I didn't say, that's a bit of a problem. But I'm happy to disagree and I'm happy to argue it. I just believe that lore makes the game better. For instance, I agree. Look, I'm not disagreeing with anyone here. I'm not saying at any point that lore doesn't make the game better. I think everyone fucking... did everyone just stop listening halfway through what I was saying? Chat, can I just fucking... Hands up if you just stopped listening to what I said and just started writing whatever the fuck you wanted to write. Because it seems like I'm saying one thing and everyone else thinks I said something else. Because Jesus, okay, so let me just very quickly recap this shit, right? Very quickly recap this shit. I am saying that based on the amount of money that Blizzard is spending, right, on their lore department with all of their cinematics and all of the story and the growth of the story and the books that they're trying to push now and just the doubling down on the world of World of Warcraft, the actual backstory, it seems to me like Blizzard may in fact be trying to turn their world into a marketable world for other gaming companies. So giving other gaming companies the ability to buy the license and produce games within that world. It just seems to me like they're trying to make it a marketable entity in and of itself. And I don't know, is there anyone that doesn't want that? Disagree. I think they would be difficult to work with over their IPs. Look what happened with the private servers. But the private servers was illegal, right? And so what you're talking about here is I'm selling you the rights to make a game that is set in my world. Now, they could have very high standards, like I guess you could say D&D to some extent, not always, but to some extent. Or they can have very low standards, like Warhammer, right? And just sell their license to whoever the fuck they want. And then you get good games and bad games, and it's all a bit of a fucking mess, right? But at the end of the day, selling your license and private servers would not be the same. Just imagine the adventure of being able to see Azeroth first and foremost on a much better graphics engine. Because remember, not all of these gaming companies would be forced to use the Blizzard created engine, right? So you might get World of Warcraft in the Unreal Engine, for example, right? Told by a company that is genuinely just trying to tell a very specific single player story. I think it would be fucking brilliant. I don't know why people don't want that. Then you know, I'm saying it's what I think the end result of this is. But I mean, obviously, will it happen? Fuck, probably not, right? But that still doesn't. I still don't know then why Blizzard is spending so much time and effort on trying to flesh out the World of Warcraft backbone storylines. Why are they going above and beyond almost to try and tell these different stories, right? I don't want the graphics. I'll be the first to put my hands up. I do not want the graphics for World of Warcraft to be any better. I'm just going to be very honest on that. I like the graphics from World of Warcraft. In fact, I like the graphics of World of Warcraft more than I like the graphics of ESO, or of New World, or of Final Fantasy, of any of these games. I like the heavy stylized graphics. It looks cool to me when I look at, for example, when I go to a very majestic place in World of Warcraft, the fact that it's stylized just adds to the story for me. It adds to the feeling that I get from this amazing game. I like the character movements that's a little bit more animated and a little bit more almost cartoony. I fucking love the graphics of World of Warcraft, so I don't want that ever to change. But what I do want is Witcher 3 set in Azeroth. I would fucking love that story.